Hi everyone, welcome to KnowledgeEquity's financial reporting introduction. My name is Thearshan Vandiar. I'm the subject owner for financial reporting at KnowledgeEquity. Very passionate about the subject, very excited to be the instructor, and hopefully I can convince you to sign up with us. And what we're going to cover in this session, in this 20-minute session, well, the first 15 minutes or so, I'm just going to cover the importance of financial reporting very briefly because it's a topic that I can talk on the whole day and not even scratch the surface. We'll touch on who I am as a person, an instructor, just so that you can get to know me a bit and my background. I'll also be looking at what's in the subject, financial reporting as a subject, and how KnowledgeEquity will be able to help you get through the subject. Right, let's get started. So the importance of financial reporting. Now, at the moment, I'm speaking to you in English. At home, you may be speaking a different language. You may speak a different language, whatever your mother tongue is. That's your home language. Now, when you get to the business environment, when you get to a commercial sense and you in a working environment, you need to speak a different language. And that language is financial reporting. I'm not talking about debits and credits. I'm not talking about bookkeeping, because almost anyone can do bookkeeping. But in order to speak at a higher level, in order to communicate, you need to speak the business language. And financial reporting is that business language. So if you want to speak, be heard, comprehend what's being said, communicate in a business sense, and I'm talking in a management role or in a role that will make a difference, you need to be able to speak the business language, and that business language is financial reporting. So in almost everything that you do, as you're making sense of things, as you're making important decisions on whether you're going to invest, whether you're going to buy, sell, whatever you do, you need to be able to understand that important language, and that is what financial reporting is all about. So that's what we're going to be looking at in a nutshell. Right, brief introduction about myself. As I said, my name is Thearshan Vandiar. I work at KnowledgeEquity at the moment. I've studied my Bachelor of Commerce in Accounting at the University of KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa. I then studied my Bachelor of Commerce Honours in Accounting. I majored in Accounting and Auditing. I studied 3 years after that to become a chartered accountant in South Africa. I'm also a chartered accountant in Australia and obviously a CPA as well in Australia. Now, from a work experience perspective, I worked at KPMG, so I do have Big Four experience, predominantly in the audit sense, so external auditing, and I worked at the South African Institute of Chartered Accountants for 5 years or so as a project director in auditing and assurance, as well as members advice. So I provided a lot of advice and technical assistance to chartered accountants in order to understand some of the standards and make decisions from a practical perspective and an implementation perspective. When I came over here to Australia, I worked at CPA Australia as a product development executive, and now I'm currently at KnowledgeEquity, which I love, which I'm very passionate about. My first love, my first passion is education. This is what I really enjoy doing, what I really love doing. So if you ask me what is your role or what do you do, I would say to you I'm an educator first, but that's my passion. Second, I'm an accountant. All right. From a technical perspective, in South Africa, I've done a number of television interviews publicly. I've very vocal about my views, and sometimes not so popular views, but they're my views and I'm quite vocal about them. So for example, in South Africa there was changes between the period 2008 and 2010 on the Companies Act in South Africa, and that had major implications on the financial reporting standards and the kind of financial reports that different companies would need to do. It also had major implications for auditing and whether companies would be required to have an audit or not be audited and so forth. So from that sense, I had strong views on that. I had major issues with the fact that firstly, the legislators in South Africa were not accountants themselves, yet they were writing about accounting and auditing and financial reporting, which I found absolutely strange, but that's why we're a third world country in South Africa. Anyway, I was quite vocal about my views on that. I've done a number of television interviews in Summit TV, Business IQ, as well as panel discussions on that issue. I've also written a number of articles on audit and auditor rotation and comparisons between reviews and audits. And I know this subject is financial reporting, so you may ask yourself, so what does auditing have to do with financial reporting? And this is the major thing, and this comes back to my first slide on financial reporting being a business language. So if you look at auditing, what audit basically says, an auditor expresses an opinion whether the financial statements fairly present in all material respects. Now, an auditor cannot express such an opinion unless that auditor speaks the business language. An auditor cannot say that the financial statements fairly present unless the auditor knows what a fair presentation looks like. And in order to know that, they need to know financial reporting. They need to speak the business language. So you cannot be an auditor unless you know financial reporting. So while my focus is on financial reporting and auditing, it does come back to financial reporting, which is also a major passion of mine. Now, I apologize for these frightening photos of myself in my earlier days. I have aged somewhat, maybe for the good, maybe for the better, I'm not sure, but apologies for the frightening photos of myself. I just wanted to show you that I do have the technical knowledge. So how does this relate to you? I do have the technical knowledge. I've written technical articles and done technical media coverage. I've also have the academic knowledge because I've written articles as well from an academic perspective and taught a lot of financial reporting and auditing at third year levels at university as well as at postgraduate and honors levels. And obviously I have the practical knowledge as well, applying this in a commercial sense when I have worked at the Big Four. More importantly, this relates to you because I was once a student as well, not so long ago. So I know what the pain points are. I know what the struggles are that you will experience as a student. I do remember those struggles that I personally had. So with that comes a lot of light bulb moments that I had through my studying career. I've studied for approximately about 7 years then, having throughout studying accounting and majoring in accounting and doing my honors in accounting and writing board exams. And through that studying, through those years, I've encountered a lot of light bulb moments, which would literally took years for those light bulbs to flick on. And if you study with us, what we'll do is, what I'll show you is, I will immediately impart those light bulb moments to you through the study with us, so that you'll automatically, instead of having to go through years to make that light bulb come on, I will then impart that knowledge to you, so you'll be able to learn faster, learn quicker. Now, one of the major light bulb moments that I had in my studying was, how do you eat an elephant? Now, it sounds absurd, really, but when you look at a subject such as financial reporting, it literally is an elephant, okay? Because you're not just talking about the study guide. The study guide refers you to read the standards, the accounting standards, such as the international accounting standards. So you don't just have the study guide to get through, you also have to understand and read the standards. So it's quite a lot of material to get through and then understand it and apply it. And how do you eat this elephant, which is financial reporting? And a lot of the candidates fall into the trap of trying to swallow the elephant. Okay, you cannot swallow the elephant. So how do you eat the elephant? And the trick is to eat the elephant piece by piece. Okay, so you literally take the elephant, cut off little pieces of it, eat it, digest it, let it simmer a bit, and then you eat another piece. Over a period of time, you'll be able to digest that entire elephant. And the trick, the tool that I use, that I personally used when I studied, it worked very well for me and will continue to work for you as well. So I will implement those in your learning throughout our studying. Through when you study with me, I will be showing you the techniques and I will be breaking it down for you using spider diagrams, flow charts, decision trees, whatever you want to call it. So literally, the technique is so simple. You take a concept, a complex concept, which is our elephant, for example. We would then break it down into smaller parts, and then we even break those smaller parts into even smaller parts. Okay, and what we then do is we take each part, we understand it, we break it down, we make it into simple concepts that we can eat, digest, mentally comprehend, and once we understand that part, we move on to the next one. So once you have a spider diagram that breaks this down, and once you understand each of these individual parts, you can then complex this. You can then collapse this back into its major components and back into the component or major complex principle, which is the elephant, for example. So you what we do with the flowchart, you break it down, understand it, and then you'll be able to relate it back to the major complex idea, which previously you may not have or struggled to have done. What this spider diagram does is it then gives you a visual picture of something that's complex rather than just reading the text. It's also something that you can print off, take with you into the exam, and then use it with you as well. It creates also for me a filing system. So sometimes there's a lot of information that you can't necessarily comprehend and remember. What this does is it creates a filing system for you so that you can file it in your mind and then recall that information when you need it. So here's just a quick example of one of the flowcharts that I give to my students. Throughout the module, I'll be giving you flowcharts, lots of flowcharts, because that's the way I learn, and I'll be making this available to you. What you then need to do is print it out, make your own notes if you need to, and then take it with you into the exam. Now, I've got feedback as soon as the exam was written this year. A few candidates immediately emailed me afterwards and said they were able to use some of my flowcharts as it was in the exam itself to answer the question. So for example, this flowchart, for example, relates to probably 4 or 5 pages in module 3 of the study guide, and I've summarized it here for you in 1 page. And all you literally have to do is use it, take the question, apply the question to this decision tree, and literally go through the answer to understand how do you treat a particular issue. Do you disclose it? Do you recognize it? If you disclose it, what are the disclosure requirements and so forth, and you can do that using the decision tree. Right. Just a quick overview of the study, what's in the subject itself. We'll start off with the general principles of auditing, of accounting in module 1, and here we will look at things like the definition of assets, the definition of liabilities, the recognition criteria. Now, in normal bookkeeping, you have debit this, credit that. In financial reporting, we actually go into a little bit more detail and say, but what is an asset? What characteristics does it have that make it an asset? In module 1, we also look at some very important, pertinent issues that are currently happening as well. So for example, revenue recognition, leases, employee benefits, agriculture, investment properties. Those are the kind of standards that you will also look at in module 1. Now I also wanted to quickly touch on something here. For example, revenue recognition, which you'll be looking at in module 1. Recently, IBM was in the news. They were being investigated by the SEC for their revenue recognition policies. As soon as they made that announcement, their share price dropped 3% immediately after they made that announcement, just because they were not possibly recognizing the revenue correctly in terms of the standards. And the standards applicable is IS 18 or IS 11, depending. Now, this is a concept, this is something that we're going to be addressing in module 1 of financial reporting. So if the IBM accountants studied financial reporting with us, we would have covered it off in module 1, and they possibly wouldn't have been in the situation that they found themselves in. Also want to touch on something that's very interesting to me. I love airplanes, so a lot of my examples touch on planes and so forth. The new invention that's currently underway has been unveiled is the son of the Concorde. It flies just as fast as the Concorde. I think you can get from New York to London in like 2 or 3 hours, something ridiculous like that. In any event, this plane is going to be developed from 2016 to 2021, so about 4 or 5 years it's going to be under construction. My thing that immediately came to me is that there's a new revenue recognition standard that's going to be applicable from the 1st of January 2018. It's called IFRS 15. Now, if IFRS 15 is going to be effective from the 1st of January 2018, what's going to happen with a company such as Aerion, who's going to be constructing this aircraft, that's going to be constructing this aircraft over a period of 4 or 5 years, where the old revenue standards are applicable up until 2018, and then there's a new standard that's applicable. How are they going to recognize revenue? This is where they're going to need specialists who understand the accounting standards, the financial reporting standards, and you who, as a future accountants who are studying financial reporting now, are going to be highly sought after. They're going to need your skills to understand how to implement these new standards, how to evolve from the old standards, IS 18 and IS 11, to the new standards. Not everyone has that knowledge. You who are now studying financial reporting will have this knowledge, and your skills are going to be highly sought after. So really a fun times to be an accountant. Right. And then we look in module 2, we look at the presentation of financial statements. So we go into the detail of income statement, balance sheet, and so forth. Module 3, we look at contingencies, contingent assets, contingent liabilities, provisions, and this concept of the provision for decommissioning liabilities. Now, in module 4, we look at income taxes. You do not have to understand taxes, so you don't have to have done tax in Australia to understand this module. In module 4, it's more about deferred tax. Deferred tax arises because of differences between the accounting treatment of items and the way tax treats the items. So it gives rise to deferred tax. Deferred tax is an accounting concept. It's not a tax concept. So that's something we'll be looking at in module 4. It does get a bit complex. So if you do choose to do the full focus package with us, we will be doing webinars on this, and we'll spend 2 weeks on income taxes. Right. The next module, which is module 5, looks at financial instruments, and module 6 looks at consolidations or group accounting. Financial instruments is also a very specialized topic, IFRS 9, and we do get a specialist from the Australian Accounting Standards Board to come in there and help answer questions while we do the webinar on that. Consolidations or group accounting counts 20% of your exam, so a major component of your exam. As from a webinar perspective, we'll be spending 2 weeks of the webinar focusing on consolidations as well. It is one of those complex topics, so you are required to recall some of the knowledge that you've studied in undergraduate level. If you can't recall that, no worries, we'll recap on that in our first webinar when we look at that. And then lastly, we'll look at impairment. Impairment refers to the write-down of assets when the value of assets decreases. Why is this important? Because there's lots of examples recently in about major impairment charges. Rio Tinto, for example, $25 billion in impairment charges. Their CEO stepped down after they had to process such huge impairment losses. So really pertinent in today's world and today's economic environment. Impairment is something that needs to be looked at, needs to be properly understood. Again, a lot of people do not understand the technical details of the standard relating to impairment, which is IAS 36. And you who are the future of our accountants who are going to be studying financial reporting with me will look at IAS 36 when we get to module 7. And again, your skills will be highly sought after because impairment is so important. Now, a quick look at the exam structure for financial reporting. It is a core subject, so it does have a written component. Section A is a multiple choice question. It comprises 45 questions, 1 mark each. Section B is an extended response question, so written component. It comprises 3 case studies, and the total is 20 marks. So a total of the exam is 65 marks. Now, from our perspective, what can we do to help you? We have a lot of tools that will help you and keep you on track through your studying. Instead of going through that list, I'm going to rather show you using our example of contemporary business issues for financial reporting. It will be pretty much the same. This is from our LMS or learning management system. If you choose to do financial reporting, you would see different listings here. In each module, we have, so I'm just going to draw here a bit. So in each module, what we have is, so each module is broken up into different units, and each unit has different things. So each unit has videos which we look at the major components or key topics of the module. We can't cover the entire module, there's a lot to cover, but we will look at the key topics or principles or key principles covered in each module. So that's what we will cover. So this is a unit within a module. If you click on this unit, you will then be able to view, go into a different screen that will show you different videos. So there'll be about 3 or 4 videos in each module or each unit, and that the videos are probably 2 to 3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes long, which goes into the detail of the principle, the concept that's covered there, as well as include an example. Now each unit also has mini quizzes, so this will allow you to mini quizzes are at the very easy level, just to test that you read, that you understood and comprehended what was covered in that. Just to go back one more slide, I just want to tell you, I'll touch on practice quizzes just now, but I want to tell you that in each module we also have practice quizzes, right? Practice quizzes just is a little bit more harder than the mini quizzes, and it covers everything that's covered within that module. This is probably about 8 to 10 questions in a practice quiz, and this is a good measure to test whether you understood the module. So if you tested module 1, you understood it, great, move on to module 2. And so forth. So you'll see practice quizzes in each module. Then for the full focus guys, we also have live weekly webinars. This is where we actually take the concepts and then talk about it, do an example, work through the example together, and then obviously the slides and stuff will be made available to you. Very, very good to do the weekly webinars with us. We do ensure that you keep kept on track. Now I also want to touch on the practice exams quickly. The practice exams there's 2 practice exams. The practice exams are structured exactly the way you would see your real exam. Okay, so we have section A 45 marks, section B 3 case studies with 20 marks. You are encouraged to do that exam under strict exam conditions, because you need to test yourself, so that when you actually go into the real exam, you're not for the first time seeing or experiencing what it is to be in an exam. So you're encouraged to do that exam under strict exam conditions. As I said, there are 2 of those exams. We'll be releasing them in week 8 and week 10. The written component of that exam is marked individually by myself. I'll mark each and every single exam myself, and I will provide you with detailed comments on where you went wrong, where you're strong in, where you should focus on, and so forth. Okay, so those are very valuable tools. Strongly encourage you to do those under strict exam conditions as well. Lastly, not lastly, just want to quickly tell you, if you have any questions, please, my email address, thearshan@keq.com.au. Please feel free to email me. I'm usually very good with responding to emails efficiently. And also on Facebook, if you haven't already done so, please go to Facebook and like us. We like to let our egos grow a bit, so please do like us on Facebook so that we feel wanted and liked. And lastly, please have fun. I'm trying to one of my personalities to make jokes. Sometimes I'm quite cynical, but you know what, this is a fun subject. Just because you have to study it doesn't mean it has to be painful experience. You can make it quite fun. You can make it quite technical. We can treat it like a brain teaser, like a mini quiz. Just get your brain jogging. Make it fun activities. Email me, talk to me. Let's have debates. We can really make it a fun experience. It doesn't have to be boring just because you're studying it. So it's I really love the subject. I'm passionate about it, and I enjoy it. So I want to impart that kind of feelings to you as well. And yeah, that's it for me. Thank you for listening to me for the last 20 minutes or so. Thank you very much once again. Bye bye.